Let's start up in Seattle with your Seattle Seahawks. I see you rocking that Seattle Seahawk throwback hat tonight. Unfortunately, it was not the outcome you wanted, but this Seattle Seahawk team played a heck of a game. The reality is Tampa Bay is a pretty darn good team. Baker Mayfield has showed up, and he showed up in a large way. 29 of 33 on the road in front of the 12s. They get the job done in an absolute barn burner. Richard, what are your initial thoughts and impressions of this game?
Well, it came down to obviously great offensive efficiency, but it started off so slow. The Seattle Seahawks didn't get a touchdown until the last 2 minutes of the first half. Offensive series were derailed. They picked a random opportunity to put Jalen Milroe in the game and run an option that led to a turnover. He pitched the ball to K9. It was a weird pitch. K9 couldn't handle it. He fumbles. The Bucs recover. And it just left you scratching your head because it led to the Tampa Bay Bucs' first touchdown of the game, which was huge in the grand scheme of things. It's huge when you look at how this game ended. Obviously, there was a missed kick by Myers in this game. So all those things end up adding up, but Sam Darnold played an incredible game, especially in the second half. In that last 2 minutes of the first half, he was 27 of 32 for 337 yards, 4 TDs. He did have that interception, but it bounced off a helmet, and, I think it was a case of Clint Kubiak getting too cute late in the game. They were in control of the game. They could have ran the football and just milked the clock and just been methodical about how they did it. And I think I could be wrong. They just got a little cute. And unfortunately, a bad tip off the helmet and the ball gets deflected and Levante David takes advantage of it. And it puts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the driver's seat. That's how the games go. Those are the mistakes you can't have in a game like this versus a really, really good Tampa Bay Bucs team. And obviously offensively, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had their way. There are question marks defensively for the Seattle Seahawks team. Devon Witherspoon was out. Tariq Woolen went out, and I think that changed the way Mike McDonald was calling a game. I don't think he was calling man coverage as much anymore. They were calling zone predominantly, trying to protect these backup corners. And unfortunately, it left a lot of voids in the secondary and a lot of holes in the defense, and it may have been a miscommunication. Emeka Egbuka took advantage of it to the tune of 7 catches for 163 yards. He was bombing them. But every time it looked like they needed a catch, they needed a big play, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got it. And for everything that can be said, the Seattle Seahawks did the same. When they needed a big play, Sam Darnold was up to the task. He found whether it was A.J. Barner, who had an incredible game with 2 touchdowns in this game. I think he can be a big-time player in this league. I think he needs to be featured more in this offense, and I was happy to see him featured this game. Obviously, Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet featured in this game. I think Kenneth Walker needed more carries than the 10 that he got, but Jackson Smith and Jigba made big play after big play after big play, had his 8 catches for 132 yards in the touchdown. Like I said, A.J. Barner had the 2 touchdowns on 7 catches, and then Torrey Horton got in the end zone late in the game. That was positive news. I think that is sustainable. Sam Darnold looked like the guy who they drafted out of USC. He looks like a guy who can play at a really, really high level. This was a QB duel that I think was at an elite level. But defensively, you gotta shore up these holes. You got to shore up these holes, and you got to get some rush, get some pressure on Sam Darnold. They did a phenomenal job keeping Rachaad White in check before the last 12-yard carry. He had 13 carries for about 29 yards. So they did a good job keeping him in check, keeping the Bucs run game in check. But you got to get more on Sam Darnold. I mean, you got to get more on Baker Mayfield. You got to get more pressure, and I think that was missing in this game. When they did get pressure, when they did rush him, he was able to get out of the pocket and make plays and find an open receiver in these zones. They only sacked him once in the game. There was some clear frustration throughout the game. You saw a play where Leonard Williams got into it with Tristan Wirfs, and it led to a penalty which didn't end up being materially relevant. But you could just sense the frustration. And I know this defense holds themselves to a high standard. So to give up 38 points to this team, to any team, is something that they don't think is acceptable. And I'm sure they're going to go back to the drawing board and make the corrections, challenge one another, and come back with a big time fire. But you got to give credit to both of these offenses, both of these quarterbacks. They played a phenomenal game. The NFC West is still wide open. The Arizona Cardinals, like you said, lost today, last second with some really ridiculous plays down the stretch to the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward. We'll talk about that game later, but the 49ers are sitting atop the NFC West at 4-1, and it's the matchup next week in Tampa Bay with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the San Francisco 49ers is looking like the game of the week now, with all things considered.
No question.
The San Francisco 49ers obviously got to get healthier on both sides of the football, and I think they get Mustafa back. There's a small chance they get Kittle back, but I think they're going to be feeling good. They had a long rest. They played on Thursday on a short week, so they got a little extended rest. They got to watch games this weekend, so I think that's going to be good for them. But, woo!